Okay, viewers, I can't show you the footage, but I can tell you that the man's name is Stephen Ogilvie. He's the victim of this attempted beheading in Belfast, just randomly picked out and attacked by a Sudanese immigrant. Obviously, he's just decided, well, I'm going to attack this person. See, you can't reculturalize these people. Okay, you can let them in. You can have them inhabit where you are, but covertly, they just can't reculturalize. Okay, if they feel like going on one of their cultural I'm going to kill somebody journeys, as in this instance, then you are not going to be, viewers, you've got to open your eyes, because this could happen to you. This is just some fella walking down the street, Steve Ogilvie. There's a picture of Steve there. Like, how would you like it if you're just walking down the street and the next thing you got one of these maniacs deciding that it's your turn to go, just randomly? This, you've got them running into dance schools. 3 little girls got killed. A woman's just been killed, stabbed to death on a train in New York. Now you've got just like it's a jungle, people trying to hack off innocent Westerners, civilians' heads with a friggin' penknife. Now, I used to be a slaughterman. I've cut hundreds of thousands. We used to do 4,000 sheep a day. And if you were on necks, it used to be called necks. You used to have to, I'll just take Steve off here. When you did necks, you used to have to, and it's hard to break a neck. You've got to crack the neck and break it, right? But you used to have to leave enough skin for the head to hang until it got out into the part where they cut the tongue out, and then and then they chuck the head down the chute and it gets the brains taken out and all the rest of it. But breaking a neck's not hard; it's a skill. So I don't know what this guy was trying. This is not civilized behavior. Okay, this is from another planet. This is from another world. This is jungle stuff. These people are out of the jungles. Okay, like it's some kind of, this is just another day at the office for this bloke, but it's not for the Western people. Okay, do you think it's time we need to be walking down the streets fully aware of what's happening around us? And now we got these black people walking around here now. Don't turn your back on them. And the government's got us completely unarmed, right? It's just, look, it's not Western civilization as it should be. It's just not. The Belfast attack is not merely another violent crime story. It has become a public warning event because it exposes a deeper civilizational anxiety across the Western world. Governments have imported people. It's the governments that are doing it. They've imported people faster than they can verify, absorb, assimilate, discipline, or reculturalize them. And the question's no longer whether immigration is what happens when entry systems fail. Cultural screening collapses, enforcement becomes politically hesitant, and ordinary citizens are left to absorb the risk in the streets, schools, transport hubs, suburbs, shopping centres. What about the guy down in Sydney that just decided he was going to start running through the shopping centre stabbing people? And a female policewoman got him. Now, this situation, for anybody that wants to watch the footage, if you can swallow it, on X, right? Thank God for X, because it does let you see the reality of what's happening in this world. I just watched 5 stabbings across the world. This one being the most, graphic, in the sense that nobody was even game enough to run up to stop this bloke. Somebody ran up to him with a big hockey type thing and started hitting him over the head, and it didn't even affect the guy. Now, could you imagine if you find yourself in this situation like that young bloke, Novak, right? And then you've got the girl on the train in New York, just sitting there. The next minute she's bludgeoned to death. These are not civilized people. Trying to reculturalize these people is like trying to retrain a dog that's been trained to do something all its life, and then you're trying to get it out of the dog. You can't do it, Tammy.
No,
you can't do it.
No, it's ingrained.
Right now, the Middle East knows this. If you go to Egypt, there's 5 fences on the Palestine border that they've got to try and get through. 5 fences, not 1, 5. And if you go through, and if they're watching and you're trying to get through and it's out of order, they shoot them. Bang. Because they know what's coming. You can't reculturalize these people. You can have all the good intention, you can send them to the right places to learn, but it's in their DNA. It's got nothing to do with racism. Do you think this is racism? One of your mates getting brutalized on the street and nearly beheaded? Do you think that's racism? People are making a lot of money out of immigration. Millions. That's why they're defending it. They're not defending it. They're defending it for votes. They're defending it to wash out the Christian fundamental cultural constitutional values of the Western world. And they're doing it because people are making massive, huge, multi-million-dollar amounts of money out of it. And there's a lot of people making less than that, but they're still making money. A man was horrifically attacked in Belfast. Bystanders eventually intervened, only because the police turned up. Somebody had to do something. I mean, people were standing there watching this guy attempting to cut this man's head off. And I don't know if many, I can tell you from experience, I used to be a slaughterman, chopping a head off not with a penknife. I can tell you right now, that's almost an impossibility. It's going to do critical damage. How would you like to be walking down the street with one of your friends and the next thing you got one of these monkeys, right, jumping out of behind a fence or just walking up towards you, and the next minute they're attacking you for no reason except their culture? Police arrested the suspect. He should have been shot on this. Just shoot him. Put him out of his misery. He doesn't belong. The alleged attacker was reported. Do you know they used to hang people for stealing a loaf of bread? Right?
Yeah.
If you stole a fucking crust or something, you'd be hung.
That's how the convicts.
Now you can get into the middle of the street in a civilized nation, in the middle of the street, in front of everybody, who's the government's made absolutely defenseless. Right? Anybody can break into your house and do whatever they want. You're supposed to be defenseless. I mean, come on, guys. Come on. Now it's just happening randomly. Nobody knows who's going to get attacked next. Let's just start calling it what it is. Oh, it's not that. Well, why did Jacinda Allen, in her brilliant stupidness, put machete bins outside police stations, thinking these monkeys were going to put their machetes in the machete bins? Somebody made tens of millions of dollars out of that. It cost $13 million or something. They only cost $4,000 to make each. She only made 13 of them, and it cost, I don't know, what was it? $3 million or some ridiculous amount of wasted money. Do not trust the politicians. There you go, I've said it. Do not trust them. They're trying to take out the communication that we've got on the internet. They're trying to blur out us seeing their corruption and moral bankruptcy. It's just complete moral bankruptcy. Two-tier policing. They're trying to stop our free speech, bring in digital IDs and all this sort of thing. Mass migration against the will of the people that are, these people are, you know, the politicians are supposed to be serving us, and they're absolutely not. They're not. The alleged attacker is reported as a Sudanese asylum seeker. Authorities have not identified a terror motive. Oh, come off it. Tammy, the guy's cutting a bloke's head off and they're saying it's not a terror attack. Well, what is it? What is it then? Just some kind, is that okay, what do you call that then? A hospitality attack? I mean, this has gone past a joke. This has gone absolutely past a joke. We've got police walking up to people that are dying in the front yard of their murderer. The murderer's standing there saying he hasn't been stabbed, right? The police are standing there and going, well, you've stabbed him. We believe he hasn't been stabbed. And the guy dies. Yet the police are supposed to be the ones that are supposed to be protecting us.
They don't protect us.
Come on, aren't we at the stage where we should be in severe alarm? It's not out of place to be trying to bring this to people's attention. We are defenseless. If somebody jumps your fence, right, and decides that he's going to fucking stab and kill your family, then you're at the mercy of that person at that time. The police ain't going to get there in time, I can assure you that. We've rang police for house robberies and they haven't even turned up. In Cessnock, we even gave them the name of the criminals and nothing. So you could be at home and get stabbed to death and they'll just bury you. You've got to understand the moral bankruptcy that the Western world is in. But socially, the public sees something else. A stranger, a blade, an innocent civilian victim, public horror, police caution, political silence, and a population told to remain calm while the footage speaks directly to the nervous system. And this is why the reaction has been explosive. We need to be on high alert. When you get on a train, when you go out into the public, if you're just going to meander along and your number comes up, you'll be dead before you know it. I'm sorry, that's just how it is now. I just watched some footage of a Muslim woman in the full burqa come up to a security guard at some place. It might have been a hotel or something. Offer her, I want your ID. Gives her the ID. She gives him the ID. While he's looking at the ID, she pulls a blade out of her bag and starts stabbing the security guard. A female woman in a burqa. Just because she felt like it. When the US soldiers were in Afghanistan, when they first got there, they were running around thinking the women and with their children were innocent until several episodes occurred where they go to get the woman and the child out of harm's way and get blown to bits. The women didn't care if they blowed their children up. They'll blow themselves up and their children up for Allah. Now, I'm not saying this is specifically a Muslim issue, although Muslims seem to really get into this sort of thing. Let's just say it. It's not really a Christian thing. But how do you know if you're safe? You don't anymore. You just don't anymore. People people are not only reacting to one crime, we're reacting to accumulated fear. Like, this is becoming a daily occurrence. Not just one episode. This is going on, Tammy. This is happening day by day, right? Right across the Western world. You've got to understand, the Western world's in decline. How do you think the Roman civilizations, the Germanian civilizations, the great civilizations of the past disintegrated? If you were living in the Roman Empire, there's no way you would have thought that was going to end up null and void. But you've got to understand, we are witnessing the decline of the Western world, and the politicians are at the head of it. Now, whether they're aware of it or not's irrelevant. This is happening before our eyes. Across Britain, Ireland, Europe, Australia, Canada, and the United States, citizens are increasingly believing migration policy has moved beyond domestic consent, just into citizen violate. We're just violated by this immigration. There's nowhere even in Australia, for those of you that don't live in Australia, there's nowhere to even house them. They don't even know where to put them, and they're still flying in 1,500 a day. I mean, us normal beach-going, barbecue, throw a shrimp on the barbie, Paul Hogan type Australians, we're sitting there and we are, I'm telling you, we are violated. We're being psychologically, politically abused by these people. And then, on the other hand, we've got these people from other countries, when it suits them, just running around killing us. Without any warning, without any prediction, just people getting killed. And that's supposed to be justified. It's so bad, I'll say it again. Jacinda Allen decided that she was going to put, may as well have been Lifeline clothing bins out for people to put their machetes in. That's how bad it is in Australia. And somebody made a fortune out of that. We're seeing weak border screening, asylum loopholes, unknown criminal histories, cultural incompatibilities completely ignored. We got these politicians, what's that guy's name? Tony Burke's going down the airport, welcoming them, giving them a welcome and a hug. Doesn't even know who they are. Meanwhile, on the other side of the world, in the Middle East, they're all sitting there going, what the hell is what these people doing? They're flying them in. We've got 5 barbed wire fences to make sure they ain't coming near us, and these people are flying them in, housing them, giving them money, supporting them. I saw Jacinda Allen give a house away to some woman down in Melbourne. Just go, but it's on the internet. Put the headphones on, Tammy, if I'm too loud. There, it's a very easy solution. Yeah. I mean, these politicians, I'm telling you, it's not going to turn around. We are watching the demise of the Western world. Police language is managed. Public safety concerns are dismissed as bigotry. Cultural incompatibilities right through our nations. People go, well, you're Islamophobic or you're rubbish. How are you going to go? Okay, it's all right to say that until you get hit over the head or stabbed in the back. It's a different story then. These people on the flotilla that tried to get into Palestine, Israel did them a favour. You're dealing with cultures that you don't understand. They're vicious, violent, and morally bankrupt. Attackers are described as cautious. Citizens are warned against misinformation before governments even give us a basic answer to any questions. And this produces a dangerous trust collapse. That's where we're at in the Western world now. I'm sorry, politicians, But you have caused, and they're saying it, aren't they saying it on the, look, the Australian politicians are saying it, the Liberal Party's saying it. We've lost the trust of the people. Any wonder? Any wonder? You've left us completely vulnerable. You're trying to tax us on left, right and centre, tax on tax on tax. You can't be trusted at all. We're completely vulnerable to what these politicians are doing. We've got people going to court to try and bring some morale and coming and winning court cases and coming out with hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt. Like the court saying, okay, you win, but we're just going to stick it right up your you-know-what because you did. We are in moral bankruptcy. When people believe institutions protect narratives faster than they protect citizens, social order fractures. Now, what the problem is, we're all suffering from political abuse, right? Trying to figure out if it's just us not looking at it the right way. And the next thing, somebody gets killed, and we're standing there and we're going, well, it's happened again. It must just be me. And there's people dying, right? But look, this guy was in the middle of the street. I know what it's like to take a head off. I've done it hundreds of thousands of times as a slaughterman to sheep and cows. I can tell you right now, there was no way he was going to cut that head off with the penknife, but that's not the point. It's the whole intent. Why is... Australia cannot treat Belfast as a distant British problem. We've got people running that down into Bondi just going ballistic. Then we've got one of the guys that rescued and ambushed one of the gunmen. Now his family's trying to extort him. It's moral bankruptcy, viewers. You go to court and you don't know if you're going to come out dead or alive psychologically. Because some of the judgments are just not rational. Australia has the same vulnerability points: large-scale migration, strained housing, overloaded hospitals, cultural enclaves, contested national identity, weak assimilation expectations, political fear of naming, cultural incompatibilities. I don't think we should be worried about that anymore. I think the proof's in the pudding. We've got Sudanese and all these other people running around Melbourne like it's the jungles of Sudan, attacking people like they're animals. We've got people in Sydney shooting guns and whatnot like they're in the Middle East. Right? Haven't we?
Yeah.
I mean, shootings in Sydney now are a daily occurrence. We've got a 17-year-old kid with a machine gun shooting it into the council offices down in Sydney. Come on. And once upon a time, if you stole a crust of bread, you'd be hung.
Yeah.
Now you can run around with a machine gun and a machete and do whatever you like, and you might get in trouble if the judge is having a bad day.
I'm sent here as a convict.
Weak assimilation expectations, political fear of naming culturally incompatible people, public frustration over selective policing, rising concern about street safety and social cohesion. Viewers, there is no street safety anymore. If you're unlucky at that time, you're gone. Well, you say it might not happen to me. Look, I'm out in the water all the time doing water sports. I don't know if I'm going to get attacked by a shark or not, but I can tell you before I put my foot in the water, it's my fault if I do. Now, if you're walking through a street that you're paying taxes for you to be protected, and some monkey that hasn't contributed to the country at all, right, because these people haven't, what we're looking at here, decides that, oh, well, thanks for letting me come here and I'm just going to kill you. You're my choice today. Then it's too late once you're gone. Look at the Link Cafe siege. Those people went out to have a coffee and the next minute they're getting killed. They're hostages. The larger danger is a governing class that assumes people can be imported first and culturally integrated later. There'll be an overt demonstration of integration, but covertly, you cannot reculturalize these people. It's like training, like I said, it's like training an old guard dog to not be a guard dog anymore. That's not going to happen because it'll behave itself for a while, and then the next minute it's bitten someone. It's ripped someone up because it's cultural. It was culturalized to be that way. The reculturalization problem. The reculturalization problem. A person is not reculturalized by a visa. A population is not reculturalized by paperwork. A civilization is not preserved by economic modelling. The deep culture includes attitudes towards women, attitudes towards violence, attitudes towards our laws, attitudes towards... And I'll tell you something about our laws too. This is going on at the moment. There's some decent moral women that have gone to the courts and been brought undone by laws that were put in by immoral, morally bankrupt politicians in 2013 that allowed ideological females have the same privileges and powers as the biological females, and it was all based on corruption. Attitudes toward religious authority, attitude toward family honour, attitude toward free speech, attitudes towards police. A lot of the time the police are the meat in the sandwich. Attitudes toward host nation loyalties. There are no host nation loyalty. Some will. Like, again, let's go to Bondi. That man that took the gun off the father, he was being loyal. Then what happens? His family is trying to extort him. They're trying to extort his money. Attitudes towards stranger, the dissenter, and the weak. If the foundations are incompatible, then integration becomes a slogan, not a process. Once large communities form around imported loyalties, imported grievances, imported religious assumptions, imported tribal conflicts, and imported legal instincts, right? Governments cannot simply reculturalize them through advertising campaigns. See, in Sudan, this guy you can see on the screen hacking up poor old Stephen Ogilvy, in Sudan, in some cases, he would be exonerated, whether it be a white man or a black man. In some cases, he would be exonerated. It does. It leaves you speechless. If the foundations of these people are incompatible, then integration becomes a slogan, not a process. Once large communities form around imported loyalties and imported grievances, imported religious assumptions, imported tribal conflicts, and imported legal instincts, governments cannot simply reculturalize them through advertising campaigns or reculturalization programs because it's in their DNA. The public safety consequence. The ordinary citizen now lives under a new psychological condition. Listen, unpredictability, right? It's all unpredictable. The fear is not that every migrant is violent. Let's take unpredictable for a minute. Anthony Albanese and what's that other bloke's name again? Tony Burke. Decide they're going to lob up to the Lakemba Mosque. All right, let's go down the Lakemba Mosque. We'll get a photo shoot. We'll get our votes solidified off the Muslim population. After all, we've let so many of them in. We've let them, we've overdone it. Everyone's complaining about it. But, hey, they get to the Lakemba Mosque And I've never seen anything like it. These people turned on Albanese and Burke to such an extent that Burke and Albanese had to be ushered out. Now, I'll show you how much of a politician Anthony Albanese is. After being called a putrid dog and everything else you could think of, I mean, the Muslims can really bung it on when they're angry. Anthony Albanese turns around and goes, "Oh, we had a lovely time down at the mosque, and we were so welcomed and greeted." This is the insanity of the people that are, and then we get word that Mr. Albanese's got a $57,000 pay rise. After putting everyone in a position where they're struggling to put food on the table. I'm telling you, the moral bankruptcy at the top of these people running our countries is just so open now. We need to be serially concerned. How do you protect yourself from it? You can't. Now, the fear's not that let me make this clear. The fear's not that every migrant's violent. Oh no, let's not bung that on. The fear is that the system no longer knows who's dangerous before the public finds out after a violent attack. I mean, Tammy, I don't remember seeing so many immigrants in Gosford, right? Now, I've got no problem with that. I grew up in Flemington and Barella and Auburn and Burwood and all the rest of it. But the unpredictable... If I see a black person or a migrant walking my way, I'm not just switching off going, they're going to glide past. I'm waiting until they've gone past, and then I'm looking over my shoulder to make sure I'm not going to get jumped from behind. That's just how it is now. Now, poor Steve Ogilvy, he's gone wherever he was headed. Look, this isn't just, viewers, this isn't just here and there anymore. This is a daily occurrence. This is not unforgivable breach. When vetting fails, the streets become the screening mechanism. When assimilation fails, civilians become the shock absorbers and may not survive. This is catastrophic. When governments refuses cultural clarity, society pays not only in fear, but often with their lives. I was speaking to a fellow on a job up the northern end of the Central Coast yesterday who grew up in Bankstown, right, in Sydney. He had a scar across his, Tammy, he had a scar across his eyebrow from the middle of his head across to the edge of his face, and his nose was like a boxer's nose. I said, "What happened to you?" He goes, "I grew up in Bankstown." And that was all. He said, I don't want to speak about it.
Scary.
The West is approaching a hard truth. You can absorb migrants. I don't think, Tammy, at this point, right, I think Pauline Hanson's right. Can you just give it a break? Let us catch up. Make it fair on the citizens that live here and make it fair on the people you're bringing in. Because the cost of living in Australia now is completely gone. I'm a tradesman and I couldn't afford $800 a week rent. So the psychological abuse that's going on now in Australia through the moral bankruptcy of the people that is apparently running it. I've got a series called Who's Ruling Australia? Well, it has to be the banks, because the poor old people that are trying to live here, it's impossible. People can't leave home now if there is a home for them to stay in. They've got to rent houses with I don't know, some people are renting houses with 15 people in them and rotating. People are coming and going you can welcome refugees, you can show mercy, but you cannot safely import large numbers of people while refusing to test allegiance, cultural, violent risk, identity, ideology and compatibility with the host nation's civil order. A nation can survive diversity. It cannot survive permanent unpredictability. And look, viewers, the problem with this is we're being psychologically, via this political bankruptcy, we're being actually, you know what, we're being put into really in a lot of ways, it's called political abuse, covert political abuse, but it's overt now. You can see it clearly, right? We've asked them to stop the immigration, just give it a break. Don't stop it altogether. Just let the country catch up. That's political abuse. And you know what that causes when it goes on too long? Post-traumatic stress disorder. Right? We're living in a completely demoralized and era where post-traumatic stress disorder is supposed to be managed as something normal. Because when you think about it, okay, my granddad went to war and he used to scream of a night, just randomly all of a sudden you'd hear granddad screaming and grandma would have to wake him up, right? He'd just start screaming because he'd have flashbacks to the atomic bomb. He was there for Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The Australian Navy bombed it for 2 weeks, and then one day they just got told, do not look out into the sky at such and such a time, and they dropped the bombs. Yeah, and Grandad they went ashore, and he never got over it, what he saw. He said he said it was so hot that the steel columns left shadows in the ground.
Wow.
Yeah, it was, yeah. Anyway, I believe now that we're living in a cultural atmosphere that is causing post-traumatic stress disorder. The accumulated things that people are up against now is too much. When I bought my first house, it was $34,000 and I was making $650 or $80 a week. Sometimes $1,200 a week. If I slaughtered during the day and did the cleaning of the slaughter floors of a night, I would get $1,200 a week when I was 18 years old. Right? That's how I managed to buy my first house. But when I bought you think about it, it was $34,250. That same house now, that was in, say, 1989, $34,250. That same house now is $1.5 million.
It's insane.
How's the young people? What I'm saying is the cost of housing and the increase in wages hasn't really changed. Like, you tell me that somebody now that can easily just make $1,200. That's not easy, is it?
No.
Right. Well, I used to make $1,200 back in 1989.
That's a lot of money.
So how easy was it for me to buy a house? It's the stress of the loss of hope just in Australia now. I mean, there is a mental health problem that's radiating through Australia now that's at third world level. Australia's heading towards a third world nation because it's out of reach for people to have a normal life. Now, some of you people that are cruising along and don't understand this, just block your ears or go do something else. I'm trying to give some therapy to people that are really, really on the bones of their ass, trying to find answers, working two jobs and still not cutting it. You know, I was down training on that park. This is a couple of years ago, down at the park opposite the stadium on the Central Coast, right? Mm-hmm. It was called Blues Tongue Stadium. And under the bridge where the homeless people were living at the time, they had some prawns. Somebody had given them a big bag of prawns, right? Fresh prawns. And I went past and there was sort of familiar with them, and they said, "Do you want any prawns?" And I thought, geez,
It's nice of
you know, I thought, gee whiz, it's all you've got, and you're prepared to share.
yeah.
We have been raped, pillaged, and plundered to the point where people are just going into stress, post-traumatic stress disorder, by facing the bills that they've got every week. Because once the public believes nobody's truly safe, the immigration debate stops being administrative. It becomes existential. And when people conclude that their government cannot protect them, and let me just say it outright, if you're in the wrong place at the wrong time and one of these monkeys decides that you're the one, can you remember that guy that started stabbing people down in Sydney, and they put a milk crate over his head?
Yeah.
Can you remember that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Where was that? That wasn't the Link Cafe, was it?
No.
No, this was another one. Some guy's just decided he's going to randomly stab some people. I remember they put a milk crate over his head and held him down on the ground. The civilians had to stop him, unarmed civilians. All they had was a milk crate. All they had with this guy, so go to X and look at the footage of this, if you can. I'll warn you beforehand. They run up finally with a big hockey stick sort of thing, and they were clubbing this guy, and he didn't even flinch. They were clubbing him, I mean full swings, and he didn't even flinch. And when people conclude that their government cannot protect them, they stop asking for policy reform. They begin asking who the government is really serving. And viewers, right now, you want to stop and have a family meeting and say to yourselves, who really is running this nation? Okay, really. Because if somebody jumps this fence, we lock the door as soon as it gets dark. All doors are locked and all the rest of it. As soon as if somebody jumps that fence, the government ain't coming to save us.
No.
Right? And I've got that many injuries from bricklaying and sport, I don't know how I'd go. So if a couple of young, drugged up or whatever, psyched up young fellas come over that fence, we've got nothing. By the time the police get here, if they come, it'll be too late. Viewers, I'm not trying to discourage you, but you need to have a family meeting and make sure you're all safe, because we're starting to see people now just try and behead people in the middle of the streets. We've got machine guns firing into council buildings in Australia. This is happening all over. Another young girl's just been stabbed to death on a New York train. I'm pro-theologist. You know what? At the end of the day, apparently this all comes down to religion and all that. I'm telling you right now, as just a simple, struggling Australian, this is coming down to survival. In every aspect. This is coming down to personal survival. Because if you can be walking down the street and the next thing be getting stabbed to death for no reason, that's about survival, viewers. I'm out.